Welcome back into the On Deck Circle podcast. We are back. Alex is looking off into space, but here we are on the other side of the World Series. Daylight savings time has ended, and honestly, this feels like the low point of the baseball season.
Well, when you live through what is arguably, and we're told by the experts, the greatest World Series in modern history, you can't help but just have a massive fall off.
Yeah.
All drugs have a letdown. And that's kind of where we are right now.
We're waiting for pitchers and catchers to report in February at this point.
We waited for a letdown. And we did hear, though, they said it's like going to be one of the shortest off seasons in history because they said there's going to be games played like February 20th. And I think that's
interesting.
I think that's related to the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, true. It is a WBC year.
So they're going to be moved, so there's game, so we had games run into November, and it's going to be February 20th or something that they're going to start playing spring training games. And then you get bonus baseball with the World Baseball Classic. I know you're a big fan of the World Baseball Classic.
Huge.
Yeah, you love it. You love it. You live for this stuff.
I love it like you love curdled milk in yogurt form.
Yum.
Yeah.
So good.
Give me some more, as you would say with Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
Give me some more. Well,
that's all
on this podcast.
It's going to be a very short off season, so the depression won't last that long. So
true. It's true. So we got a couple things we're going to do this podcast. One, wrap up what has been an eventful World Series. There's two ways you can look at it: glass half empty, glass half full.
I prefer.
We'll do our best
totally
to give
empty.
you. We'll give you both of those perspectives. And then we're going to look ahead to some of the managerial changes that have taken place. We've had several teams that have hired new managers, and it'll be interesting to kind of think through the outlook of those teams moving forward. Are they hires that set those teams up in an upward trajectory, a downward trajectory, or just the same old bland mediocrity? And then we're going to answer the question, who's not signing with the Dodgers this offseason? Already there's been a lot of speculation about a three-peat and who the Dodgers might add. They're interested in Kyle Tucker, of all people.
A three-peat.
And so it'll be interesting to see. We'll discuss that a little bit later on in the podcast. But for now, 7-game World Series that climaxed on daylight savings time ending. It was very close. I don't know if you stayed up for this, Alex, but Kevin Burkhardt on air commented how weird it was to go from 1:59 in the morning to 1 o'clock in the morning and experience daylight savings time in person. I don't know if you've ever done that. Have you ever stayed up late enough to experience losing a full hour?
Only every year.
Oh, okay.
You tell yourself that, it's okay, I'm going to have an extra hour of sleep. And you're like, and you try to get that extra hour of sleep. Then you somehow end up being awake at 2 a.m. and you see that clock go back and you just lost that extra hour of sleep, actually. You get less sleep than you would on a normal night. And so...
Yeah. It was interesting. I even texted you while I was watching Game 7. I wonder what would happen to baseball, how they would record if the game had continued past 11 innings and they had been like in the bottom of the 13th at like 1:55. Commercials happen. You get to the top of the 14th and it's 1 o'clock in the morning. How do you differentiate between those things? Could that be the inciting moment that causes us to realize the ridiculosity of daylight savings time?
Maybe that is. I'm convinced
we will never know.
Nothing will kill daylight savings time, no matter how much political and cultural unity there is around scrapping it. And so it's one of those tropes just that's part of our society forever. So
all right, so let's talk the baseball aspect of the World Series. It won 7 games. You and I were both wrong. I called Dodgers in 5. You called Blue Jays in 6. Blue Jays in 6 looked like it was going to happen.
Yeah, should have happened.
And should have.
Sucks you got to run bases still.
Exactly. Let's go down 2 different lanes here. Why don't you answer the question, why did the Blue Jays lose the World Series? Because there's several, I mean, they gave it away. There were 3 instances I can think of where they let the World Series go. And then I will answer the question, why did the Dodgers win the World Series? Because there are a couple factors that you're just like, yeah, I mean, like the Dodgers, you know, pulled the right punches. They did the right things. Whether you think it's scripted or not,
Well,
why did the Blue Jays lose the World Series?
so yeah, obviously they had some blunders on the bases, and that's fine. They kind of looked like in portions of that series, they looked like the Tigers against the Mariners, just runners on bases for days, and just couldn't, manufacture that extra run or two that they needed. In Game 7 in particular, I believe they had multiple runners on base, like for the first 5 innings. And so they had the 3-run home run from Bo Bichette, but it was like they probably should have had more than 3 runs off of Shohei Ohtani. So that's, I think, the lack of clutch hitting when they needed it, obviously. I mean, and that's tough, right? Because they had games where they scored 11 runs, and they were hitting pretty well, but you needed extra runs against the Dodgers. You just do. You can't peg yourself to a 4-run lead and just ride it for 6 innings. So,
especially when you have teams that are first in their respective leagues in comeback victories this year.
Yes, exactly.
Which both of them were.
Secondly, I do put a little bit of stock, but not as much stock in the base running blunders. I mean, they're trying to be aggressive. They're trying to get that extra step, but they obviously ran into some extra outs in that series. I think the biggest reason they lost, though, and it's probably going to be a duplicate of a positive of why the Dodgers won, Yamamoto was untouchable in 2 starts, and in a massive relief appearance, he was untouchable.
Yeah.
And that's really frustrating on a number of fronts, because they were, I think, I don't know. I think we had talked off the podcast, like they had to get to Blake Snell in Game 7, and they no, not Game 7, Game
Shohei.
6.
They had to get to Shohei.
They had to get to Blake Snell in Game 6, and they did get to Blake Snell, but again, not enough to win the game. And then they had to get to Shohei, and they did, but then in maybe. And I don't know how many options he had, because I give Dave Roberts a lot of grief. In one of the better managerial moves I've seen, Dave Roberts is like, we're just going to ride Yamamoto down the stretch, and you kind of felt like you were at the Kentucky Derby, watching the jockey just ride the horse down the stretch, and it was like, I don't know, that was the move. That was the play. You couldn't bring Roki Sasaki in. He showed that he gets a little yippy when the lights are really bright there. He's not quite settled into the closer role. They got no one else in the bullpen that can be trusted. And so you're like, we're just going to ride with Yamamoto on basically 1 day of rest. And we're just going to throw him out here. And so I just think that was, props to Dave Roberts, Yamamoto, World Series MVP. Was he not? He was. And so
rightly so,
was fantastic. And quite frankly, he's the reason I think the Dodgers win that World Series. And so if he blinks at all, the Blue Jays win. They may even win in 5 games. And so, so way to go, Yamamoto. He was the stopper. You had an awesome run, and my Yamamoto rookie cards, love you, appreciate you, thank you so much. So yeah. That stock rose.
Rising as we speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So why the Dodgers win?
So Yamamoto is one all by himself. I mean, complete game in Game 2. 2 consecutive complete games going back to the NLCS. I mean, he had... So you remember the postseason that Madison Bumgarner had?
Yes.
Back when the Giants won the World Series? It felt like that. It felt like Madison Bumgarner, where
Madison Bumgarner.
Sorry, Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah, no D.
It felt like Mad Bum was on the mound again, where you just he's just imposing his will, and he's just out there playing with the batters. Like, come on, you gonna try and hit the fastball? Let me throw you a curve and a split. You're gonna he kept the hitters off balance, and he managed to do that 3 times, and you have other relievers and starters who are like, oh, they've seen him a 3rd time, this is going to be a problem. Yamamoto has enough in his arsenal that he can mix it up and still be able to keep hitters off balance. So yeah, absolutely, he's reason number 1. Reason number 2, Dave Roberts' managerial moves, and let me elaborate. So Game 5, he made a switch. He dropped Mookie Betts in the order.
Yep.
Game 6, he dropped him again, and then he made 2 lineup changes. He took Andy Pages out of the starting lineup, put Tommy Edman in center field, put Miguel Rojas at second base for Game 6 and Game 7. And that was a brilliant move that was not analytics driven, it was gut driven. And we've talked about how much managers need to go back to managing with their gut. I feel this player is going to do better for us. Miggy Rowe, he's old, he's slow, he's not the player he used to be. The Dodgers are better defensively with Tommy Edman at second and Andy Pages in center field. However, Dave Roberts went with his gut, which was, I need to play Miggy Rowe and I need to sit Andy Pages. And sure enough, the Dodgers won in Game 6. The Dodgers won in Game 7. Not necessarily because of those moves, but like the culmination of those things. So like, for example, the go-ahead home run came from Will Smith, who was hitting second in the order and had been bumped up there by Dave Roberts after Game 5. The game-tying home run in Game 7 was from Miguel Rojas, who Dave Roberts had subbed in and played, started in Andy Pages' spot, in the 9 spot. And he doesn't have a hit in a month, comes up to the plate, has an October moment that will be talked about for a long time. And I think that sort of managerial move, like, you need a Yamamoto type performance to win a World Series. You also need a manager who makes shrewd and wise managerial moves. Yeah. And he did that. And I think you couple those two things together, someone just having an otherworldly World Series performance and a manager who doesn't blow it for his team. And you're like, that's the difference maker. Like, John Schneider didn't do anything wrong. I don't think you could point to anything where you're like, oh, no, I would have started so-and-so, or I'd have played this person here, or brought this bullpen arm here. He had his guys lined up, but you just, like, Ernie Clement had a pretty awesome World Series. Addison Barger had a pretty good World Series. Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. had pretty great World Series. They aren't even in the same conversation as Yamamoto, though. Like,
no, they weren't. But
and neither is Trey Savage. I mean, like, he had a great World Series,
but when
comparable.
Well, yeah, if they win Game 7, Trey Savage is probably he's the Yamamoto that we'd be talking about today, because he was equally as dominant. However, this is it comes down to, you tied your horse, if you will, to the cast-offs of the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen, and you expected Jeff Hoffman to get outs when his track record was, I can't get outs when they matter the most. And I'll just say this: what a terrible pitch, man! What a terrible pitch. He's throwing gas. Miguel Rojas can't hit gas. He didn't get a hit that whole game. He was not hitting the fastball. He's got him with 2 strikes. I may have been a full count. I can't remember. But you just keep pumping gas. And instead, he goes off speed, allows Rojas to get out in front of the pitch and, loops it over the fence for the game-tying home run. And you're just like, dude, like, what do you, like, I don't know. I can close my eyes and see that pitch. And you just, like, as soon as it left his hand, it was like, oh, he went off speed, which is going to give Rojas a chance. And sure enough, and again, yeah, he went down and got it and looped it out, but that's all you have to do on a pitch that's, 80 miles an hour instead of 98. And so you're just like, I don't know. I really wish he would have just trusted his fastball, kept going kind of mid-upper tier with his fastball. And, who knows, maybe the Blue Jays are celebrating a World Series championship right now. But baseball is a game of inches.
You saw that play out in location of pitches, base running, fly balls. I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
The game, honestly, okay, obviously the hit was huge, but that play at second base by Miguel Rojas, where the infield's in, bases are loaded, I believe, and he fields the ball, kind of goes to cock his arm, loses his balance, and still recovers enough to put a strike on Will Smith at home plate. There was a little bit of iffiness with Will Smith's footwork there at home plate, but what a play! When you go back, and I don't want to bring up PTSD here, but when we go back to the Phillies trying to make that throw to home plate against the Dodgers, we all know a lot of stuff can happen with that throw. And he throws a strike, and it ultimately becomes a very consequential, World Series clinching play. And which is fantastic. So he was both good in the field and good at the plate when they needed him. And, they're celebrating a World Series because of it. And so
whether you like it or not, and I know that you don't, by the way, our podcast is brought to you by Diet Pepsi. Whether you like it or not, you and I have been alive for 2 dynasties now in baseball. We were alive in the 90s when the Yankees cleaned house and had a three-peat. They won a bunch of World Series over a short number of years. And that could be what happens with the Dodgers. I mean, they are, if you think back to the 90s, the Yankees were the best team that money could buy. And they had some talent that was homegrown, big name free agents, the Roger Clemens of the world, the A-Rods, the Jeters, some of the Gary Sheffields of the world. And you have that inflated and enlarged now with the Dodgers. On the one hand, that's a good thing. You're like, okay, it's cool that we can have like this team that's consistently great. Like the Patriots, not to transition to football, but like the Patriots run is epic, whether you like it or not. You hate it because you're like, come on, like my team should have won one of those Super Bowls. But on the other hand, there's something to be said for sustained greatness. Now, that clearly puts a target on their back for next year. And I hope that there's another team that like can make some signings and give them a run.
Yeah, I hesitate. I'm not a buyer yet of the dynasty label. Here's why. Their first World Series was the COVID year. That does not count. It doesn't count. I don't care how legitimate the ring or the banner is. And so that's off the table. They've won back-to-back, and I'll give them that. They've won back-to-back, and they're a juggernaut. Win three in a row like the Yankees did. Win 3 out of 4 over the next 2 years. Like if they go to the World Series next year and lose and then win the following year, I think then we can start talking about like dynasty.
Yeah.
From my perspective, but I hesitate to it's rarefied air for a dynasty, like when the Patriots are winning the Super Bowl every other season for 5 seasons. And, obviously the Yankees win 3 in a row and they're playing in like 5 straight World Series. Like it's just that's a crazy run. The Dodgers, I think they're on the cusp of that. And there's no reason to think they won't be back in the conversation next year. It's just, I want to reserve the dynasty label for when they win one more, or
absolutely,
go to another World Series, win the following year, win 3 out of 4, and that's all because I just don't give the COVID year a lot of credit in my mind. So
I understand. The other piece that's interesting is the two. So we've talked over the last couple of years of how the swing away from starting pitching to bullpen.
Yeah.
And you saw the contrast between a traditional team that relied on a bullpen, the Blue Jays, and the Dodgers, who basically were nothing but starting pitching.
Right.
Outside of Sasaki and Treinen and Bonda, and the guy who gave him 4 innings in the 18-inning marathon game. Outside of that, it was pretty much all starters for the Dodgers. It was Snell, Asnow, Yamamoto, Tani, Kershaw having 1 out to kind of have his World Series moment, which was, whatever. I think I'm missing a pitcher. No, those were the 4 starters.
Yeah,
And you're like,
that was refreshing, right? That's probably the most refreshing thing for me in that World Series was they showed, amongst other things, obviously they have a juggernaut lineup in a lot of ways, but they showed that you can have 4 horses and win a World Series in a 7-game series. Because there's a lot of people that would say, like, and again, maybe the Padres learn their lesson next year. You don't need necessarily to load up on 4 closers to make a run in the World Series. Turns out, getting through 5, 6, and 7 innings with a stud pitcher goes a long way to winning baseball games in the postseason.
absolutely.
And that was refreshing for me to see. Can I throw some shade at someone real quick?
Sure. I swear, if you bring up Max Muncy,
Home plate umpire Jordan Baker.
yeah, yep, there. He's a long, tall drink of water, that Jordan Baker.
And this could have been a bigger storyline if he hadn't given up the home run to Bo Bichette. But the grace extended to Shohei Ohtani. When we're going to 3-minute commercial breaks, 2-minute commercial breaks, and we're coming back, and Shohei Ohtani hasn't thrown a warm-up pitch yet because they're letting him, change his pants in the clubhouse before he comes out to it. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I love that it's like the rules experts, like, well, that's at the umpire's discretion. Well, Jordan Baker, have better discretion, dude. Like, this is crazy. And it's like, it's just kind of like the message is like, Ohtani kind of walks on water. And so, like, it's just like he's a two-way player. No, he's a two-way player and he can get his butt out there just like a regular pitcher would. He doesn't have to pitch and play and bat at the same time. The rules were changed in order to keep pitchers out of the lineup. And so if you want to insert your pitcher into the lineup, they can play by the rules of as everybody else does. But I was just like, this is crazy that we're like watching broadcast time of Shohei Ohtani, throwing a full repertoire of like warm-up pitches in 3 straight innings. And it's like, I do think it got in the heads a little bit of John Schneider because he was like, clearly he's flustered by it. I'm sure, I know if I was a Blue Jay, I would be ticked. And it just was like, I don't know. Shohei Ohtani, he's obviously a superstar. He's a stud. He might be a criminal, depending on if the FBI ever wanted to investigate his gambling habits again. However, he just comes off as the biggest prima donna in Major League Sports across the board. And I lost a lot. This series, I mean, it doesn't change his status. I'm out on the Ohtani thing, just as a fan of baseball personally. Like he in my mind,
he's like the ultimate cheat code.
He became, he's the ultimate cheat code. He became the ultimate villain, and I'm like, I'm gonna go all in on Aaron Judge to try to take him down. So, anyway.
Nice.
Anyway, that was Jordan Baker. I was just like, you got to do that better. They got to evaluate that and like come up with a system for how we're going to handle Ohtani pitching. Just because he's on third base doesn't mean he gets like 10 minutes to get ready to pitch the next inning. So,
well, it was interesting because on the broadcast, like John Smoltz, you could tell he was clearly flustered at the fact that Ohtani got that.
Right.
And like, it was awesome.
I love it when professional baseball analysts can't like lose the professional baseball aspect of it, because he's like, you could immediately, like, John Smoltz is in the dugout for the Blue Jays and he's just livid. And so I'm like, no, dude, bro, you're up in the booth still. You're okay. You can be neutral. And he's like, no, man, this is crazy. They need to get this under control. And I'm like, oh,
it's an injustice taking place.
Exactly.
All right, so the World Series is behind us. The parade's completed. By the way, I don't know if you saw this or not. Hilarious interview with Kike Hernandez, clearly under the influence of some champagne.
It's the most dangerous interview in all of sports. Is the one
my word,
that's post celebration when the champagne is flowing. So
it was epic. So we move on to some prospects for the new season. 4 teams, according to what I'm seeing here, 4 teams have hired new coaches. There are some others that are in the wings, but nothing official yet, at least that I was able to find. So 4 teams. The Atlanta Braves hired Walt.
Five teams. Yep.
Who am I missing? I got the
let's go.
Orioles, Nationals, Rangers, Braves.
The Angels. Kurt Suzuki.
Yeah.
Kurt Suzuki, man.
That's right. That's right.
I'm gonna talk about that one, and I'll talk let's save that one because I'm gonna talk about that particular hire because I thought that was hilarious. But let's walk through Walt Weiss and everybody else.
All right. Walt Weiss, Atlanta Braves. He was the bench coach for them. He replaces Brian Snitker. And from what I saw yesterday, like he's cleaning house on the coaching staff from what I saw. How do you think Braves fans are feeling about the fact that Walt Weiss is their new head coach, Alex?
I think the message that sends to the fan base, I don't know how the fan base is receiving it, but it's like we basically want, we've got it outside of the fact that he's cleaning house with the coaching staff. It's like we're confident with the roster we have that we're going to be competitive. We just got to get healthy. We're going to bring a guy in who's been sitting next to Brian Snitker for the last several years. And so ultimately, it's just kind of like we're going to keep this train rolling. And so Walt Weiss is not an agent of change. He's just like kind of like he's the new face of the old regime is how I kind of...
Snitker 2.0.
Yeah. And so like he'll have his own guys around him, but that's just how it feels. So and again, my excitement as the fan base is not so much or as a fan of the Braves is not so much in the who's in the manager seat. It's Ronald Acuna playing 162 games next year, and he's got to stay healthy. And we got
Austin Riley, Matt Olson. They got
all those
produce.
guys got to stay healthy, and that's kind of if they're good, then they'll be good. So
yeah. Pardon the ambulance trundling by on my end. Next one, Texas Rangers, Skip Schumacher taking over for Bruce Bochy. I love this.
Well, time out then. Then we got 6 new hires then because that guy's not on my list.
Yeah, Skip Schumacher.
Yeah.
He was an early one. That took place, I think, during the playoffs. They named him as their manager.
He did,
because of course the Marlins didn't do jack squat in the playoffs this year. But I like that hire. I think I've mentioned that before. I think Skip Schumacher does a lot for taking the trajectory of the Rangers in an upward direction. I think that move alone positions the Rangers. Apparently something's going down around my neck of the woods. Positions the Rangers for some good success next year. So that's pumped about that.
Skip Schumacher is probably not the top, but probably right near the top of like just managerial names in the game today. Like he just has wide respect with what he was able to do with the Marlins. And, now that he'll be in a franchise that wants to win on a regular basis, I think that'll just be a really, really good marriage between the Rangers, the team that, won the World Series, the last team not named the Dodgers to win the World Series. And, I think that's really exciting. So,
yeah. Then you have Blake Butera for the Washington Nationals.
Absolutely.
Thoughts on him? He is 33 years old, so he could actually still be playing.
Yeah, so good for him. Don't know what to make of it. Not really that concerned about it. Quite frankly, the Nationals will be irrelevant next year. So,
another one that sorry, go ahead.
No, the one that I kind of like, Derek Shelton with the Twins.
Yeah, I was just going to mention him big time.
Derek Shelton feels like Minnesota. He feels Minnesota to me. And a team that, I don't know, Rocco Baldelli felt gimmicky at times. He just, kind of wears his emotion on his sleeve almost intentionally. Derek Shelton might probably bring more of a, you remember back in the days, Ron Gardenhire approach. Like he was fiery at times, but just was a stabilizing influence in the dugout. And so I think Derek Shelton might be able to recover some of that as far as the organization goes. And so it's been a minute since they've had stable managerial presence. And so I like Derek Shelton a lot for the Twins. As a Tigers fan, don't care for it a lot. So anyway, but yeah.
Derek Shelton was a bench coach with the Twins back in 2018, 2019. So almost kind of like a homecoming for him.
Yeah,
I think that's a good trajectory piece for them. The Orioles, Craig Albernaz, something.
Dude,
Craig,
this list is crazy long, dude. Like we missed so many.
Craig is now the manager of the Orioles. Excited for that. I think he brings some youth and energy. I think he's going to help develop some of the young talent the Orioles have. Pretty excited for that. The one that I think you mentioned is the one you were most excited about was Tony Vitello.
Yeah, super cool. Like this guy, he's been just a stud in the college ranks as far as managers go, coaches go. And so he's coached the Tennessee Volunteers, who they haven't won the College World Series, but they've been a juggernaut in the SEC for the last several years. And just super excited to see how this will work out. It feels experimental, but it also feels experimental to the point where it's like, we want to take the next step as a team, and so we're going to kind of go outside the box to make a hire here. It's interesting. The Giants have kind of had this reputation of going outside the box. The first time around, it kind of blew up on them when they hired Gabe Kapler as their lotion applying manager or whatever it was at the time. Yeah, people who know the story of Gabe Kapler will understand that. But yeah, just really excited to see how this is going to work out, and I think it's a great hire. Time will tell, though, and it's just, yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad to see this. It'll be interesting. There are really good managers in the college ranks, and if this goes well, who knows? This might open up the door for coaches to take that leap from college baseball to the pros. College baseball's never been more popular than it is like right now, and so it'll be interesting just to see how this plays out. But
well, and even like so you think of like the Urban Meyer concept when he went straight from Ohio State to Miami. That did not go super well.
Nope.
Granted, he didn't really have much of a great team down there, but like that transition didn't go well. And so you're right; it'll be interesting to see
it rarely
how
ever
that transition
works.
goes.
It rarely ever works, and like I said, this is the first time we're really seeing it in baseball, and so who knows? We'll see what happens. But I'll be watching Tony Vitello, just the storyline of the Giants next year pretty closely, and so he looks good in black and orange. So the Kurt Suzuki thing. So the Angels are like, nobody wants this job, and so and we're probably going to be terrible. And so they give him a 1-year deal, and it's basically like, prove yourself that you can make an improvement with this team. And he takes it. He's like, I'm so glad to get this opportunity to like kind of show myself or whatever. If you have to show yourself and you're given a 1-year leash to do it, the Angels is not the team you want to play for. You want to manage.
No.
if that's the stake. However, if that's the stake, I'm like, I wish I would have put my name in for it. I had given up a year. I would have given up a year of my life to go manage the Los Angeles Angels and try to win one more game than they did last year to do it. It just, if I'm a fan of the Angels, I feel really, really bad about where the team's at right now, because we're basically, we're hiring guys like on a prayer that somehow they can win a few more games than they did last year. And that's just not a great place to be.
What do you think the expectations are for the Angels next year? Just that they literally do one game better? I mean, pretty much he's basically a lame duck manager. He's not going to be the manager in 27. So, like, do you throw caution to the wind and, like, try and go out in a blaze of glory? Do you think he makes it through the whole season? Or if they are, like, so terrible, they can him?
There's a chance. And again, thankfully, it's an out-of-balance schedule. Mariners, better than the Angels. A's will be better than the Angels.
Probably,
Rangers, better than the Angels. Astros, better than the Angels.
Better than the Angels.
This team will finish in last place. They might, and I'll just go on record right now, the Angels might lose the most games in baseball next year. We'll see.
Rockies might fight you for that.
They might. But I'm just like, there's a chance that they lose the most games in baseball. And I'm just like, this is bad. So I don't know.
So speaking of the Rockies, there's still two teams without a manager, the Rockies being one of them and the Padres being the other.
I'm interested in both jobs.
For 1 year?
I've got a long, slow pitch softball resume as far as coaching's concerned. I can put a lineup together with the best of them. I'm a good locker room guy. And I'd like to think of myself as a hybrid player manager, player coach, but also just a nuts and bolts guy too. So
Well, so think of the pros of like a Big Poppy, mix that with a Kyle Schwarber, in terms of like glue guy, and then throw in a little razzle dazzle like Kenley, no, not Kenley Jansen, a little razzle dazzle like Brandon Phillips.
Yeah.
And that's what you would bring to the table as a manager.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of Joey Votto.
Oh yeah, a little bit of Joey Votto, exactly.
Do you think,
with a little bit of Fred McGriff thrown in there for age relevance?
Do you think Snitker? Is there any chance Snitker manages the Padres next year?
No, he's going to do front office for the Braves, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. Never mind. Okay, that'd be interesting though.
All right, so let's close out this podcast, and it is going to be a closeout because more than likely we will not drop another podcast until after Thanksgiving. We're recording this on the first week of November, and we'll probably be after Thanksgiving winter meetings time frame unless something drastic happens.
So that means I need to go on record right now then.
But so we're going to answer the question: who's not signing with the Dodgers? There's some notable free
not only
agents.
that, but who better not sign? Who better not sign?
Yeah, there is one guy that you've like put all of your chips on the table for
I'm
not sign with the Dodgers.
I'm out. I'm out on baseball if this happens. So there was a guy who opted out of his contract over in the beginning of this week from the Chicago Cubs. Shota Imanaga opted out, and so he is a free agent. If you look at the roster of the Los Angeles Dodgers, the one thing they're missing is a relevant left-handed starting pitcher that's also Japanese. So help me if they sign Shota Imanaga as a lefty Japanese player, and if the pipeline that is, if this power hitting whatever Babe Ruth Nagasaki or whatever that's coming over potentially this offseason, if he goes to the Dodgers as well, I want a full-blown investigation or I'm out on baseball because this is crazy. The Japanese embassy operates out of Dodger Stadium in LA. Like, that's a fact. Like this is like I want Donald Trump to declassify the World War II docs because I think this was the ultimate plan all along after World War II. It was like, we don't want to invade the mainland. What we want to do, we're going to play the long game. And in about 60, 70 years, we're going to take over a major league franchise. And that's what we're seeing right now. And I can't stand it. And so anyway.
Maybe we need to rename the Los Angeles Dodgers to the Los Angeles Japanese Professional Baseball League All-Star Team.
We got to do
basically
something.
what it's becoming. I mean, the other piece is the Dodgers don't really have a relevant Japanese right-handed outfield bat. And like maybe they, Seiya Suzuki could be knocking on that door.
That's Freddie Freeman's going to get dual citizenship, they said this year, between the Kingdom of Japan and the United States of America. It's crazy, dude. This is crazy what's going on right now.
Well,
so that's
like the fact that he can do the worm better than most like younger and more agile guys is frightening as well. Just
hopefully this means Tyler Glasnow is available, and I would love for him to somehow find his way to Detroit. We would love that, especially if Tarek Skubal gets moved. And so I do think Shota Imanaga is going to sign with the Dodgers in all seriousness. That really depresses the heck out of me. And I'm very, very, just like I'm conflicted right now. So anyway, that's how I want to start this segment as we close out.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's that realization. We've already mentioned that Kyle Tucker is a free agent, the possibility of him going to the Dodgers. What needs to happen is there needs to be a team in baseball that takes it upon themselves to be the Robin to the Dodgers Batman, who needs to be the antagonist and the oppressor, the kryptonite of the Dodgers. There needs to be a team assembled that is built to take down the Dodgers.
Who's that?
And
who's that I see in the distance? Is that the New York Metropolitans? Who's that I see?
Definitely not.
Who?
The Philadelphia Phillies.
Oh,
I would submit.
The Phillies. You're going to submit their resume. Okay.
Outside of Orion Kerkering, just still one of the most boneheaded things ever. Outside of that, like, the Phillies had the Dodgers number. Pitching wise, they shut them down. They had a plan for Ohtani. They executed it. The Phillies need to go out and get whoever they can get to make a run at the Dodgers. Money should be no obstacle. You got John Middleton. You got ticket prices already as high as all get out here in Philly. The All-Star game is hosted here in Philly next year. You got Bryce Harper trying to return to being an elite player, getting called out by Dave Dombrowski. He's going to have a fire lit under him. You bring back Schwarber. You upgrade at third base. You re-sign JT, or you get another catcher in there that can hit. And you go get an outfield piece. Kyle Tucker. You get another free agent outfielder that could help you get to the playoffs. And then, gosh darn it, go out and get a couple bullpen arms that aren't going to blow up, please. Get someone else to go with Jahan Duran. I don't trust Jose Alvarado. Go out and get someone. And let's make a run at squashing the Dodgers before we get to the World Series. On the American League side, the Yankees need to go out and tool up, or the Red Sox need to go out and tool up.
Can I put out a dark horse? And it's not a dark horse. It shouldn't be. Who won the most games in the National League this year? Milwaukee
The Brewers.
Could you imagine if the Brewers were to somehow go out, get a Kyle Tucker, maybe were to make a play for a Managa, do something, go get a Bo Bichette? They need some star power on that. They got a good team. They got a great team.
Yeah, they do.
They're all glue guys. And so, Jackson Chourio, he might be on the cusp of becoming a superstar, but they need an established superstar who can come in and again, they won the most games in baseball. So it's like, they're not that far away. And it's like, could they possibly great coach? Could they make a run? And so, like, hey, I really would encourage the Brewers not to just stand pat, but to go and to just make a splash and see if you can't make a run at the Dodgers. And all in all, then, if you if you can somehow maybe get the Dodgers back home next postseason, maybe things go a little differently. But they need a pitcher.
Yeah.
They need a starting pitcher, and they need probably a superstar bat in that lineup. So
yeah, if Kyle Schwarber doesn't sign with the Phillies, I could see him with the Brewers.
I'd love to see the Tigers trade Tarek Skubal to the Brewers. I could get on board with that in a hurry.
Well, yeah, that could happen.
Tarek Skubal of other things. Traded, by the way, he better be traded. Scott Harris, he better be traded. I speak on behalf of Detroit Nation. He better be traded, and he better be traded for a haul. If not, we know where the games are played, and we won't be there next year.
Detroit is burning to the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
You have 9 days.
That's a wrap on the 2025 MLB season. Dodgers are champions. It's been a good one. It didn't end like we wanted it to for either of our teams, but it's okay. There's always next season.
But you're still pretty happy.
Not
Don't
really.
Kid yourself, Mr. Max Muncy, fan club president.
By the way, he is tied for the most home runs in postseason history at this point.
Budweiser commercial. So. Hey you, Mr. Max Muncy fan club president. How are you doing today? Real man of genius.
We'll see what happens to him. Maybe he comes and signs with the Phillies. Dude, I would be so happy.
Philly can't handle that level of happiness in the Tri-County area, and so I would just, for everybody's sake, I would.
He may need to become a Philly season ticket holder if Max Muncy signs with the Phillies.
Max Muncy, if he listens to this podcast, he should sponsor you in his suite all season. And just
dude, I would take that.
Just think Ron Swanson. It's so good.
That's right. That's
anyway,
right. It's my number two. It's my number one favorite player wrapped in my number two favorite team. It's a win-win-win.
Yeah, I love that. All
right. Well, we're not going to hear this for a while because the season is over. But until next time,
we're out of here.